There is no habitation in sight, no market, only an old, rotting dock. A stretch of sand thickens into a damp black earth from which sprout stunted palms? Not quite. Tall fungal growths with frown-like caps, as if something had sculpted the idea of a tree from a mushroom. See what awaits you. War? As you step onto the quay, you hear clamor, shouts, and shooting. You can see off in the distance smoke rising from beyond the hill and dots of fire flecking the horizon. Two tiny figures stand a little further down the quay and moving, as if awaiting your approach. The following is an extract from the popular diary of Izzy Captain. From London to Irim and what he did before we arrived. Washed ashore on a mutton island, and the subsequent serialized in the Gazette. The author's identity remained unknown. Tale of Pigmote, in which a delegate is made, a choice is presented, war is declared, and most singular treasure is sought by all. And a new empire is founded with tooth and claw. Boom. Chapter 1, The Delegation. The figures were rodents. To my left was a radius father, wearing goggles, a blacksmith apron, and an assortment of tools. To my right, an unusually large guinea pig, wearing a helmet and a breastplate, reminiscent of nothing so much as the high Middle Ages. The rat stepped forward first and bowed. "Welcome, Captain, to the Red Star Isle. I am Edgar, Second Chief of the 3rd Rat Brigade. I invite you to avail yourself of food and fuel at your expense. The only cost to you is a choice." The rat stepped back. At precisely the same moment, with what appeared to be the ease of a long habit, the guinea pig scuttled forward and made a declamation. "Welcome, Captain, to the Isle of Kavia. I am Lady Augusta de Verax, Swinch of the Blackwater Swinches, Seneschal to our King Graysnaw. First of his name, I invite you to avail yourself of food and fuel at your expense. The only cost to you is a choice." The two stood at attention, looking at me expectantly. So, I'm gonna probably... let's talk to the guinea pig. The seneschal cleared her throat with a delicacy to rival the Duchess's own before speaking. "Graysnaw, the king of our land and sovereign, full 7 months had sojourned on the sea, conquered this land and won southern Maine. Now no fortress against him shall remain, no city wall left before him to gain, save the rats that squeak behind the mountain, unlikely the lamb of our deliverance. Assured shall be our glories to end their fall, when our lady's eyes restored be to our hall." The seneschal composed herself, then added, "We saw truth and beauty by the light of our lady. Sigh, on Mount Caveat, but the rats, their guns, and their chatter, and their peasants' politics stole it from us. We will subjugate them and take it back. They are a rabble, and we will rule them with a steel-shoved velvet of our paws. Will you join us?" I heard more than enough. I sided with the seneschal. Was it her charm or the fondness for London's rat-skin coats that swayed me? Perhaps a little both. At any rate, I was keen on finding out more about their civilization. A friend to cabbies. I bowed to the seneschal, who purred with pleasure while the chief engineer gnashed his teeth, but kept his distance. "You have chosen wisely, Captain," she said to the seneschal. "Come, and I will explain our situation to you in greater detail." Yeah, that's what she looks like. The seneschal led me to the southern side of the isle. Skirting the chicken woods, we passed through a number of raised mounds of earth mixed with fortifying strips of mushroom flesh, which I supposed to be makeshift walls. The settlement was dazzling. This side of the island proved to be the absolute wreath and skeleton. The Cavi's dwelling was awash with silver fluorescence. It was a large colony. Most noticeably was the steam pinnace, the impossible lamb, that had run aground, from which cabbies came and went, bearing supplies. To the right of the ship, farther down the beach, a large group of cabbies lay on a bundle of colorful cloth, whining and wailing as if in pain. To the left of the ship was a ramshackle tent of poles and linen, in front of which guinea pigs clashed against each other and sharpened their teeth. In the center of the village was a covered dais, invariably festooned with colorful cloth and guarded by well-decorated knights. I suspected this was where the King Graysnaw kept counsel. "Be welcome, Captain, in the kingdom of Kavia, capital of our isle, and blessed by the light of Our Lady's eye." The seneschal spoke solemnly, but with a hint of sadness to her words. Or so it was, and shall be again. I must speak with our king and prepare your arrival. My page will show you the area, and bring you in sight of his splendor in good time. Page! A much smaller guinea pig, its fur braided with a slender strip of parabola linen, scurried over and bowed. The seneschal took her leave. Let's visit the steam penance. Was this indeed the impossible lamb? Wasn't it reported overrun by rats? The page chittered while I inspected the... Rats! Never! The splendor of Cavi took over this vessel. I was born here, the first native of Caviar, but all our elders remember the voyage. It was hard, they say, but we were harder. But the sea is black and unkind. We were lost in the dark for weeks, and no one speaks of those terrible, terrible times. But out of the darkness came the light of Our Lady's eye, guiding us there to our own isle. In time we will ride the waves again, perhaps once we recovered our eye. Is it not splendid? It certainly may have been, at one time, but I could see the hull had been severely damaged by the skeleton reef. There was no way the Cavies would have hoped to repair it themselves. Whatever the page said, they were stranded there. Let's go to the barracks. What chance could guinea pigs stand against the weapon might of the Ratus Faber? The page led me to the barracks, where the knights didn't deign to speak to one so undecorated as I. The page, however, was eager to answer my question. The rats have no weapons, none to speak of. What is a gun without a bullet, a sword without a blade? Ours are the supplies, the knives, the soft stuffs, and the glory. Their teeth are sharp, it's true, while ours... The page hesitated as the knights glowered at him. Are sharper! All praise to the flowers of the house Cavey. One knight preened while another grunted indifference, working a whetstone along its top front teeth. As I watched, a particularly vigorous swipe knocked a whole incisor out of place. It landed on the ground in a black, bloody mess. Did I miss something? The knight gasped, grasped the tooth, and vanished from sight. Another glared in a way that dared me to make something of it. And let's visit the hospital. Were those guinea pigs quarantined? The elderly looked cavey, greeted me, eyeing me gravely. Many of us sickened during the voyage, a rotting in our teeth, a weakness in the flesh. This isle was our salvation. The stronger among us made a pilgrimage towards the pool of Our Lady Light, and then the miracle of miracles. They were cured! They bathed in her, they drank her sweet waters, and the strong brought the weak to her in turn. Soon we were thriving again, bearing our children and raising them to love Our Lady's eye. And see it in our deliverance. The elder looked sorrowfully at the sick under his care. Since the rafts have stole her, the sickness has returned. All this light is but a mockery of hers, and we gain from it no benefit. The only thing, the elder's ears voice flattened, that helps our condition is the flesh, the hearts and livers of the rats who stole her from us. Jesus. Alright, I've seen enough. The page led me, crouching at first, and then on my knees, before King Grace-Na, the seneschal. The king was the largest guinea pig I'd ever seen, easily twice the size of the largest knight in his reign. The seneschal looked positively dainty next to him. We are told, anointed the king, that you have promised your assistance to the house of Cavi. This is agreeable to us, but what form shall your assistance take? I offered to retrieve the lady's eye by force. I had guns, I had a boat. I planned to row a raiding party to the northern side of the island where the Cavies could flank the rat settlement. My plan succeeded brilliantly. It was easy enough to sneak up on the settlement. When the stolen eye gave off such a light that cast shadows around the shore, even easier to do what was needed to be done when the Cavies were rallied by the sight of the treasure. What follows was a tremendous rout. Rats ripped apart, throats and bellies torn asunder, viscera slickening in the sand. The Cavies took losses too, but soon the seneschal declared the day won. I was rewarded with a substantial amount of skeletons. I saw, to my surprise, that the Cavies had spared a number of the rats' children and were rounding up. I commented favorably on this, praising the seneschal's high-minded mercy. The seneschal was cheering pleasantly. My dear captain, be assured that we shall treat them very well. But it's hardly mercy that motivates the preservation of an enemy's livestock. A small rat wept quietly over her parent's severed torso before being prodded and pressed into march. Boom, boom. 4 skeletons. That's actually really good. Yeah, I invited one of the cabbies to join me. Welcome aboard. The seneschal, of course, couldn't abandon her duties, but she made certain my request was cried out in the village square. The page squeaked excitedly and sought permission from her. I will record your doings for the glory of Cabby, he declared, and I'd like to see more of the world. I awaited him to gather up some effects and say goodbye to his family before lifting anchor and setting off. I spoke on behalf. They're being treated. The survivors were being treated poorly, but the rift did not seem entirely insurmountable. Suppose I appealed to the house of Cabby's grace and good breeding, and praised the king grace na magnanimity. Perhaps the rats knew not what they did in stealing the eye. Perhaps they were only stumbling about in the dark for a light, as the cabbies were themselves while lost at sea. The seneschal and the king exchanged a look. The seneschal murmured something into the king's ear, and he growled deep in his throat. You saw only the front tip of our suffering, Captain. The rats must answer for every drop of noble blood spilt, and in kind we require a great many hearts and livers to repair our health of our great kingdom. Our young shall eat their old, as is meet. The king's courtier chippered the world play while the knights separated the screaming young rats from the adults who had given up trying to fight. Damn, they had... So, that was one hell of a interesting thing. We settled a war, and now children and elderly are being used as livestock for guinea pig. So, hooray us. We had eaten our fill and our business was concluded. It was time to continue our voyage and see what other wonders and terrors still awaited us. And now we have a port report. Whew! That was quite a lot of talking. Goddamn.